So now we look at the dimension of mechanism. So a mechanism is described as what we apply psychologically in support or opposition to whom or what we are, or to what we feel and think. It's a very complex field and it will take some time to understand it, but it can be quite useful. So there is a template 3B, to record and start learning and understanding mechanisms. It seems quite busy and complex. So at first I would just want to make a very brief introduction of what mechanisms are very broadly. So if we first consider who we are, for example, our attributes as a human being, or our assets, like we have described before, or even what we feel and think in any moment, we could look at 3 levels of mechanisms that we may use against whom and what we are, our qualities and assets, etc. So the first level would be a level where we use mechanisms that support, so supporting mechanisms, who we are as a human being, our attributes, our assets, our feelings and what we think. So at that level, we actually would accept, would own, would be. So it's like saying I am and living it. I am my attributes, my assets. I have those attributes or assets. So I have. And the experience would be of what we are, who we are, and would be quite positive and in harmony with who we are. So very positive. However, at level 2, where we may be using mechanisms that oppose, so opposing mechanism, for example, doubting, rejecting, denying, etc. And you could see a list of these mechanisms in the appendix under either supporting or opposing mechanisms. So at this level, it's basically saying I am not. So an attribute or an asset or what we feel and think, or I don't have. So the experience would be of not having, especially an asset. So the experience would be quite negative, and if we deny much of ourselves, it's very negative. And also in conflict with what we are, who we are. So it's quite a painful state. So quite often, to cope with it, we go to a 3rd level, which would be of opposing, like in level 2, but on which we add some compensating mechanism. So this way, it could be, for example, I am not whatever asset we have, I will if, so putting a condition, or coping by numbing, coping by projecting on somebody else, and so on and so forth, which makes the experience slightly less negative. But we're still in conflict, but we lessen it or cope with it as much as we can. So that's basically an introduction to mechanisms, and there are lists of mechanisms that support in the appendix, oppose, or that oppose and can compensate. So if we move to the template, you can use the template to learn about mechanisms, to observe them and see what their effects on experience are. So we see here the 3 levels. So one of harmony and comfort, a good positive level, another one of discomfort and conflict, and the other one of discomfort, conflict, and compensation. So to use it, you might just want to use a general attribute as a human being, for example, belonging, and then look at what happens when you support or accept your belonging and how it feels. But then you can also say, if you deny or block it, that belonging, how does it feel at that level? And see the conflict with yourself, and then see how it can be coped with, either by making it unconscious or making it, the effect of it, more physical and numbing it, let's say with drugs and so on and so forth. Or psychologically, if you make it add a condition to belong or blame others or displace and so on and so forth, and how it is still negative but with a bit of relief. So you can do the same thing with an asset. It could be a quality that you have, like intelligence, or with one value or purpose, an emotion, a thought. And then you can just walk through by following the instructions and then understand the whole really process and phenomenon of mechanisms, psychological mechanisms that either support, oppose, or oppose and compensate. And by using these templates, you can eventually just describe the mechanism that you use and see which ones are conducive to happiness and underline them, or non-conducive, and also circle them. And with time, you'll be able to see how you deal with your own self, with your own assets, with your feelings, with your thoughts, and move from, eventually, from non-conducive to a conducive mechanism. And that's going to be during step 5 and 6. So then you would have done the work and the observation at that dimension, after having it done at the soma, at the emotion, at the thoughts, and then at the doing. So mechanism then would let you observe the interactions between your mechanisms and your body and so on and so forth on a very dynamic fashion.